They asked him, politely but firmly, to step off the aircraft. He didn't protest. He didn't cause a scene. He simply reached for his phone and made one call. By the time the cabin door clicked shut, $5 billion had vanished from the market like morning mist. Have you ever had one of those days when all you're craving is quiet? Not a crisis, not drama, just peace. That was Everett Daniels on a Thursday night in late September, flying out of Phoenix's Sky Harbor Airport. Not JFK, not LAX, but Phoenix, a city that had just hosted the final day of a major investor summit. 14 hours on his feet, shaking countless hands, absorbing ambitious pitches, and making decisions so subtle they'd send ripples across industries. He wasn't a man who needed attention. No loud presence, no entourage, no gold watches gleaming under overhead lights. Just a navy blue suit, an Apple Watch, and a worn leather briefcase that had traveled more miles than most people do in a lifetime. His destination was Seattle. Home. A quiet weekend with his family. His wife had texted earlier, a photo of their son Elijah passed out on the couch, a plastic lightsaber tucked under his arm. It had made Everett smile. He rolled his neck to ease the tension, exhaled, and boarded. Seat 3, sea aisle, first class. He acknowledged the other passengers the way strangers do. A polite nod, not an invitation to speak. Conversation wasn't on the agenda. He just wanted stillness. Maybe a glass of sparkling water. Maybe some time to go over the confidential proposal slides he hadn't yet finished. He placed his iPad on the tray table, pulled up the deck, and focused in. The cabin crew moved about with practiced grace. One of them, a young man with sandy hair, looked uneasy. The other, a woman in her late 30s with a precise bob and striking red lipstick, moved confidently down the aisle. She smiled warmly when she offered drinks, and Everett accepted his water with quiet appreciation before returning to his review. Then, something shifted. 10 minutes had passed and the plane hadn't yet pushed off from the gate. The same woman returned. Her smile hadn't disappeared, but it had changed, tightened, rehearsed. "Mr. Daniels, is it?" she asked, though she clearly already knew. "We're going to need you to step off the plane for a quick security matter." He looked up slowly, not with irritation, but with calm confusion. "Excuse me?" he said, his voice steady. "It's probably nothing," she added quickly, casting a glance toward the front of the plane. "Just a quick check. We'll have you right back on." Everett looked down at his boarding pass, then met her eyes again. "Did something in the system flag me?" Her smile remained, but its warmth had faded. There was something simmering beneath her words, an unspoken tension that made the air feel heavier. "I'm not sure," she replied, eyes avoiding his. "I was just told to ask you to come with me." Everett tapped the screen of his iPad once, then glanced ahead. Rows 1, 2, 3. Passengers pretending they weren't listening, weren't watching. Some avoided eye contact, others scrolled blankly through their phones. One man in row 5 raised his eyebrows, then quickly returned to his magazine. The young man seated beside Everett, maybe mid-20s, leaned slightly toward him and murmured, "Man, that's wild." Not out of concern, more to say something than to mean it. Everett didn't answer. He reached inside his jacket, pulled out his phone. One bar of signal. Enough. He found the contact from Maya HQ and placed the call. She picked up on the second ring. "Pull everything," Everett said. "Every position tied to Ascend Air. Now." There was a pause, no questions. She understood. He hung up, slipped the phone back into his pocket, and turned to the attendant. "I'm ready." There was no anger in him, just precision, focus. And what he'd just set in motion would not just cause whispers, it would shake institutions. He walked the narrow aisle like it stretched for miles, briefcase in hand, the attendant ahead of him, half a step leading. Passengers watched without watching. A toddler gawked silently. A man adjusted his earbuds. Someone coughed, like a cue in a silent play. Not a soul asked a question. Not a single protest. As they reached the jet bridge, two security officers waited. Not TSA, private airport security. They didn't touch him, but their hands hovered near their belts as if rehearsed. "Mr. Daniel," the taller one said, "we just need to ask you a few quick questions." Everett met his gaze, calm and measured. "Am I being detained?" The officer, mid-40s, nameplate reading R. Jensen, looked momentarily rattled. He wasn't expecting someone who'd know what to say. "Not officially," he replied. "There was just a report of some unusual behavior." Everett raised an eyebrow. "Unusual? Like what?" Jensen floundered. His partner, a woman with sharp eyes and a clenched jaw, stepped in. "We were just told to make contact." Everett paused, then took out his phone again. "Who are you calling?" Jensen asked. "My attorney," Everett said plainly. "Sir, there's no need for that." "There's no need for any of this," Everett replied. "And yet here we are." He tapped the screen. Before the call connected, the flight attendant returned. Her voice was lower now. "Sir, we've spoken with the captain. You're cleared to reboard, if you'd like." Everett didn't move. "What changed?" he asked. She glanced nervously at the officers, then away. "I think there was a misunderstanding." He didn't speak, just let the silence settle between them, like fog. From behind, passengers watched. The jet bridge door still hung open. So did the question. He leaned in slightly and said, quiet and deliberate, "This flight will still depart. Drinks will still be served. Everyone will still reach their destination. But everything around this airline, it's already burning." Then turning to Jensen, he said simply, "I'm done here," and he walked away. Behind him, the terminal resumed its rhythm, but something had shifted. Gate 32C, now just another door, was already history. His phone buzzed again. Damon Rhee, his firm's senior investment strategist. Everett answered without pausing. "It's done. We've started the pull," Damon said. "Need confirmation on the secondary accounts." "All of it," Everett said. "Our funds, our partners, subsidiaries. If it's tied to Ascend Air or their holding group, I want it gone. By end of day. I don't want so much as a cent left in their system." "Understood," Damon replied. "Do you want to issue a statement?" "Not yet." Everett ended the call. He stepped into the Delta Sky Club lounge. Ascend Air shared the terminal with them. The receptionist greeted him, but hesitated. Something in his stride, his face, told her not to ask questions. She simply nodded and let him pass. He found a seat by the window, where the tarmac stretched beneath the setting sun. Planes taxied like steel insects, unaware of the reckoning circling above. From his seat, he could still see the tail fin of Flight 710. Still delayed. He picked up a half-full bottle of water from the table, took a slow sip, pulled out his phone once more. This time, he called Victoria Tao, Chief Legal Officer at Daniels Equity Partners. "We've got a situation," he told her. "I want a compliance report, immediate filing on all exits related to Ascend Air and its subsidiaries. Any legal retaliation, it comes straight to my inbox." "Already working on it," she said. "What about media?" "Silent for now." "Good," Everett replied and ended the call. That was the thing about Everett Daniels. He never had to raise his voice. He didn't slam doors or issue threats in corporate elevators. He just made calls, and the world moved. He made moves, the quiet kind, the kind that don't make the news until everything's already changed. 3 years earlier, Everett Daniels' firm, Daniels Equity Partners, had invested nearly $5 billion into infrastructure, logistics, and aviation. One of the major recipients? Ascend Air, a company that promised ethical values and made public commitments to diversity and inclusion. They celebrated Everett at galas, used his image in investor decks, flaunted their diverse leadership like a badge of honor to raise their value. But now, when it truly mattered, they left him standing alone. Pulled off a flight like a problem. No warning, no proper reason, just quiet fear wrapped in an excuse. From the airport lounge, Everett looked out the window. His flight was still delayed. Another call came in. His wife, Amamira. "Hey," she said softly. "You saw it?" he asked. "Someone posted the video. I didn't watch the whole thing, just heard your voice at the end." He didn't answer. He didn't need to. "They'll twist it," she continued. "Say you were aggressive. Say you raised your voice." "They can say what they want," he replied. A pause, then, "You okay?" He closed his eyes. "Yeah, I just hate that Elijah has to grow up watching this." "You didn't raise your voice," Amamira said gently. "You raised your standard." That made him smile, for the first time since the gate. "I'll be home by midnight," he told her. But back at Ascend's headquarters, a different kind of midnight had already arrived, and no one saw the storm Everett had quietly set in motion. Ascend's HQ, on the 24th floor of a glass tower in downtown San Diego, was usually calm. Clean suits, conference calls, catered lunches. But not today. At 4:11 p.m., Julian Reed, the CFO, was reviewing a report when his assistant walked in. "You're going to want to see this." She handed him a tablet. The email subject line, "Urgent, total capital withdrawal. Daniels Equity Partners, effective immediately." Julian blinked. This has to be a mistake. It wasn't, and 5 minutes later he knew it. Across the office, Cynthia Hale, CEO of Ascend Air, was on a call when her other phone rang again and again until her assistant rushed in. "Cynthia, it's Everett Daniels. He's pulling everything." "What do you mean everything?" "All funding, all partnerships, everything his firm touches, gone. That's $5 billion vanishing in real time." Cynthia's heart dropped. She checked her inbox. Subject lines stacked like dominoes. Capital account closure, immediate action required. Blackstone reviewing, Ascend ties Daniels Advisory Board, emergency contact. Then the blow that couldn't be undone, a message from an employee. A link. It was grainy phone footage. Everett in a suit, calmly speaking to security and flight crew. The audio was faint until one moment. "Just so you know, everything around this airline is about to burn." Then the video ended. Her phone exploded with messages. Board members, PR, investors. This wasn't a protest. This wasn't a press stunt. This was a strategic, silent collapse. And Everett Daniels had lit the fuse without ever raising his voice. In Phoenix, Everett received a message. "They're spiraling. Your withdrawal triggered the secondary partners. Want the media to pick it up now?" He read it and simply typed, "Not yet." He wanted them to feel it first. Not the headlines, the silence. The kind that swallows a company whole. His original flight finally started boarding. He didn't care. He booked a new one. No first class. No window seat. Just an engine's hum and a few unread messages. But while he sat 30,000 feet above, Ascend Air was gasping for air. The first public wave hit at 6:30 p.m. A tweet from a woman in row 4. "Just watched a black man in a suit get asked to leave my flight for no reason. He didn't yell. He didn't argue. Just made a call and left. It felt wrong." Then the replies. "Wait, is this the Everett Daniels thing? He funds half the industry. Ascend is done if this is true." At 7:15, someone leaked the video. Shaky hands. Vertical shot. Didn't matter. It showed Everett calmly asking, "Did I trigger something on your system?" The crew froze. Security hovered. Then his final words, Just so you know, everything around this airline is about to burn. The internet exploded. Everett Daniels, your corporate bias exposed. Chuck, hold to send accountable reaction videos. Analysis. By 8:40 p.m., CNBC aired The Power of One Phone Call, how Everett Daniels sank an airline without saying a word. But Everett stayed silent. No post, no tweet, no statement. And that was the message. The next morning, Ascend's phone lines were jammed. Cancellations flooded in. Small investors pulled out of freight partnerships. College students shared clips, calling Everett a quiet hero. Black professionals on LinkedIn reposted the video, alongside their own stories. They didn't need to explain the clip. They lived it. Well-dressed, polite, compliant, still treated like a threat. Everyone had seen this movie, but this time the ending was different. Because this time, the man they tried to remove had power, but the one person who should have reached out, the person who used him the most, hadn't. When Cynthia finally called, it was 10:03 a.m. the next day. "Cynthia," Everett answered, voice calm, flat. "Everett, I wanted to speak to you directly." "Didn't think you would," he replied. "Took you long enough. I'm sorry, truly. What happened on that flight, it never should have happened." Silence, then she continued. "We're reviewing everything, suspending the crew, planning training." "You think this is about training?" he cut in. She stopped. "I spent 3 years backing your company, gave you credibility in rooms you couldn't even pronounce, and one moment of discomfort made your people treat me like I didn't belong." She stumbled. Her media team had prepared her for anger, demands, not this truth. "I understand you're upset." "Don't shrink it," he said. "Don't reduce it to upset." A pause, then softer. "You ever had to measure how polite you need to be so you're not seen as a threat in a space you helped build?" She went quiet. "Is there any way we can fix this?" she asked. "No." He let it hang. "It's not about fixing. It's about making sure people watching know we're done begging for respect. Next time, they need to think twice before dressing up fear as protocol." Her voice shook. "This could destroy us." He exhaled, steady, not mocking. "You built your house with our name. Don't be shocked when we take the bricks back." "Let us meet," she pleaded. "A public apology, a plan." He paused. "You want to post something? Fine, but not for me. Post it for everyone who was walked off a plane and didn't have $5 billion behind their name. I'll make it right." "No," he said. "You'll make it public." And he ended the call. No yelling, no threats, no list of demands, just silence. And that silence was loud. Elsewhere, an investment group dropped their stake, not because Everett acted, but because he hadn't said a word, and that terrified them. 3 days later, Everett sat on a bench at Green Lake Park in Seattle. No suit, just jeans and sneakers. His son, Elijah, ran across the grass. Amamira sat on a blanket nearby. The noise of the world hadn't stopped, but Everett had chosen not to raise it. No interviews, no appearances, just watching his son laugh. Still, his name was everywhere. Some praised him. Some called him dramatic. Others said he should have just complied. That one made him chuckle. "As if I haven't been complying my whole life," he muttered. Amamira walked over with a coffee. "You're quiet," she said. "I'm thinking," he replied, "about how silence gets treated, depending on who you are." He looked at her. "I didn't yell. I didn't cause a scene. I just asked a question, and that was too much for them." She sat beside him. "You didn't leave to protect yourself, did you?" "No," he said. "I left because I knew who I was, and I needed them to remember it too." That night, Everett sat at his desk. One voice note, no edits, no fancy production. He uploaded it. Title, "To the Ones Tired of Explaining Themselves." It spread fast. I wasn't removed for what I did. I was removed for who they thought I was. That's a reality many of us live every day. Entering rooms we helped build and still having to prove we deserve to be there. This wasn't about revenge, not even personal. It was about power, real power, not the kind that yells, the kind that makes one phone call and lets silence do the rest. We spend our lives shrinking to fit others' comfort, smiling more, staying soft, staying small. But that day, I refused to shrink. You don't need to beg to belong. You are the value. And when they try to strip that away, don't plead, walk away. Let them feel what it's like to lose you. If you've ever been dismissed, disrespected, or made to feel like less in a space you earned, remember this: your presence is the power. Don't shrink, don't wait for permission. And when they can't see your worth, don't fight to stay. Leave and make sure the world sees who let you go. The post wasn't about sympathy, it was a mirror. For every Everett who was never filmed. For every story that was never believed. Because sometimes the loudest power comes from walking away and making sure they remember who did.